Al-Basheer Muhammad صلى على محمد وعلى أهل بيته طيبين طاهرين معصومين صادقين. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, tonight we continue with our examination of Surah Al-Hujurat. And this chapter of the Quran, again, is helping us to learn how it is that we're supposed to act, first of all, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then towards Rasulullah and the Masumeen of Ahlul Bayt, alayhi salatu wasalam, then for our brothers and sisters and ourselves. Tonight we're going to discuss verse number 12. And verse number 12 is a very, very beautiful verse, and it tells us about three different things. And inshallah, I'm going to discuss two of the things that it deals with tonight, and I will discuss the third on tomorrow. So the verse reads, O you who believe, avoid most suspicion, for surely suspicion in some cases is a sin. And do not spy, nor let some of you backbite others. Does anyone like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? But you abhor it. And be careful of your duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surely Allah is oft returning to mercy, the merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that suspicion, in most cases, is a sin. If you're suspicious of somebody, most of the times that we're suspicious of someone, we're suspicious of them and we have no basis for that suspicion. And if we don't have any if we don't have any basis for that suspicion, then when we are suspicious of others, it brings problems between us and them. You start doing what they call conjecture, or the Arabic word qiyas. That is, you associate one thing over here, and you try to make it seem the same thing over here, but there's no proof for anything that brings these two together. So you're suspicious of your friend because he has a smile and you lost something. Because he's smiling, you decide he must have taken something away from me, and you find out later on that he didn't take anything from you. Your suspicion was baseless. And if you accuse your friend of taking something from you and he didn't take anything from you, how long do you think this guy is going to be your friend? Not very long at all. And then this chapter, it talks about backbiting. You guys know what backbiting is? Alhamdulillah. Backbiting is when you talk behind somebody's back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that backbiting is just like eating the flesh of your dead brother. Now, this is graphic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is painting a picture for you in your head. Could you imagine eating the flesh of another human being? No, this is horrible. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comparing backbiting to eating the flesh of someone else? Because Allah wants you to know how bad this sin is. In fact, later on when we talk about backbiting, you'll find that this sin is kind of special. Not in a good way either. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, He gives us three ills that we should stay away from. The first one is pessimism. The second one is spying. And the third one is backbiting. Each of these traits are unethical traits, and no Muslim should use these type of traits on another Muslim. This chapter, Surah Hujurat, it addresses this thing head on. Because if we don't address these problems, it destroys our communities. We cannot grow as a community if people are spying on one another, if people are accusing one another of the things that they hadn't done, and we cannot continue to move forward if we backbite one another. So if we're able to take this out of our communities, we have a great chance of our communities staying together. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran breaks this thing down into three different subjects. Tonight I'm going to cover the first two, and on tomorrow I will cover backbiting. So one thing that untrusting people like to do is to spy on other people. You don't trust somebody, you have to find out why it is that you don't trust them. When most of us think about a spy, Generally, we think about a Hollywood spy. We think about 007. You guys know anything about James Bond? Yeah. James Bond is a cool guy. He goes out, he steals things, he gets information because he's trying to do what? Save the world. Or when we think about a spy, we think about a bad guy who's trying to steal things, and with this information that he gets, he's trying to destroy the world. And they make spying kind of fun. Some people say, oh, I want to be a spy like this guy, that guy, the other guy. But this type of spying is Hollywood. It's make-believe. At the end of the movie, nobody's going to die who watches this movie. But if you go home and you start trying to do this espionage or spying on people, you will get yourself in a whole lot of trouble. But what is spying? How do you define spying? Spying is going out to find out people's secret information without their permission and using it against them, or holding it against them without them giving you permission. In many states in this country, if you are found guilty of spying, you are charged with a Class C felony, which means with a Class 4 felony, which means that if you're found guilty of spying, in a lot of cases you can go to jail and never be let out of jail. In some cases, if you become a spy, if the information that you leak is really important, it's a part of national security, then you can be sentenced to death because of spying. Spying is a very serious crime. And Islam also takes a very hard line against spying. In fact, spying is considered a negative psychological state that could cause damage and injury to the character, respect, piety, and spiritual purity of the person who is busy about going to do spying. The danger in a person like this is that despite all the good deeds that they know a person is doing, they take all of those good deeds out of their mind, and the only thing they think about is the bad things that they're doing, and if they cannot find any bad things that these people are doing, they begin to make those things up. You've ever seen people who, when they're trying to find something bad about a person, if they can't find something bad about them, they begin to lie? And they lie because they don't have anything. But most of the time, by the time you find out that this person has told a lie, the damage is already done. In Islam, we are told that the respect, honor, and character of every Muslim, even in our thoughts and imagination and making judgments in our minds, must always be respected. We cannot have bad thoughts about our brothers and sisters. A Muslim is not even allowed to have these thoughts in the mind, because if we think it, sometimes we begin to want to manifest it. We find that Islam, not only does it try to protect the honor of an individual, but it also tries to protect the character of an individual. Character is all we have, brothers and sisters. In all actuality, once our character has been marred, once it has been destroyed, nobody really wants to come back and deal with you. And because this thing is so serious, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spent time telling us about how it is that we're not supposed to even think bad thoughts about somebody, because if we begin to tell people about these acts, then we're committing a sin. Our Holy Prophet said about the security of the Muslim, he says, certainly Allah has made sacred the blood, property, and respect of a Muslim from another Muslim, and he must not even entertain bad thoughts about another Muslim. Here's the thing. In Islam, Islam is this system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set up, and he's telling us not to have bad thoughts about anybody. The only individual, the only entity that could put this into effect to make us really understand how important it is not to think bad thoughts is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because a job, a person at a job, a person who is your friend, a person who's in the government, they can try to tell you not to have bad thoughts about anybody, but how can they enforce you not having bad thoughts? I don't know of a machine that has been invented that can read the minds of the human beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the glorious Quran not to even have these bad thoughts through this verse, because He is the one who knows the thoughts and the heart and the intention of every human being on the face of this earth. So if you have a bad thought, Allah knows. You cannot hide it from Him. So because of this, Allah is telling us, not only should you not say things outwardly against these people, but you shouldn't harbor things inside, because it causes us to have mistrust in people. Having this mistrust in people is called pessimism. And our scholars have given us 7 bad things that happen when we're pessimistic, or we have bad thoughts, or not trust other people. The first one is, when we have pessimism and we distrust others, we will turn the people back to this bad trait. If we have this against them, what we find is that when we mistrust people, we don't only give this person a bad thing, but we give ourselves a bad thing, because when we mistrust people and we're pessimistic, what happens is our spiritual being becomes weak. We become weak because we don't give the person the benefit of the doubt. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that of our Muslim brothers, that if we think there's something wrong going on with them, that we're supposed to give them 70 benefits of the doubt. How many of us give our friends and our Muslim brothers and sisters even one benefit of the doubt if we hear something bad about them? We go straight forward and we accuse them of doing something wrong, and because of it, it brings things bad on us. Number 2, being pessimistic or not trusting other people also destroys the roots of friendship and harmony amongst people. The person who thinks bad about others will always imagine people as being treacherous and feel that their friendship is something that is not stable and is not built on faithfulness to one another. Such people will be compelled to cut off relationships and those around them. For this reason, the Aima, they told us, the person whose pessimism is about others takes control over him will destroy any sort of peace and harmony that exists between himself and his friends. What does all of this mean? It means that if I'm pessimistic and I always think the worst of you, I can't always be friends with you. Because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking that you're going to do something that's going to hurt me. I know people who, when you're in the one room together, if they leave out of the room and they come back, and the group of your friends are talking with one another and you're laughing, the first thing they think is, when they come back, is that they must be laughing about me. In most cases, are you even talking about them? No. But because they have these bad thoughts, they begin to cut you off as friends, not based on something that they know to be fact, but they cut you off because they are so mistrusting. They are pessimistic. The person that is pessimistic, number 3, and distrusts others, will be reclusive and withdraw himself from others due to fear and apprehension that he has for other people. He will never be able to be sociable with others, and it is for this reason that we have been told in a hadith, a person who does not correct his thoughts about other people will always be frightened of every person. People who always think the worst of other people, they will never get themselves right. In fact, this is a personality disorder. People go and take medicine for this. But if you follow the religion of Islam, there are many personality disorders. There are many anxiety disorders. There are many mood disorders that will be corrected simply by you following the Quran and living your life the way that the Prophet and Aima from the household of the Prophet lived their lives. Salawat for the Prophet, inshallah. A person that's pessimistic, that's always looking for the worst in people, it not only affects how it is that he deals with people, but the person that's pessimistic, his reasoning is not sharp. his ability to judge others, suffer, and this sickness or this type of disorder affects the type of way that this person begins to process how he sees the whole life. That way, if he's always pessimistic, his logical reasoning is off. Number 5. Pessimism is a sickness that is contagious. And those people who are pessimistic, when they sit with other people and associates, they make those people pessimistic too. How many times have you been with your friend? And your friend is always saying something negative, and you're always around him. Eventually you start doing what? Saying negative things too. Because it rubbed off on you. This is why when people are pessimistic, they don't have anything positive to say, eventually you have to say to this person, either you're going to start saying positive thoughts, or we're going to have to stop being around each other so much because this is actually affecting me. Number 6. Number 6. Not only does the person with pessimism distrust and affect the soul of a person, rather, since it's a direct correlation between body and soul, the body will remain unhealthy. So the person who is a pessimist, because he thinks all of these bad thoughts, they say that people who have high anxiety, they say that people who always have bad thoughts, they say that people who are always looking for the worst thing to happen, that these people have heart problems. These people have high blood pressure. They're susceptible to diabetes and all other types of illnesses because of this mental illness that they have of not being positive about anybody or anything. And this can simply be avoided by not being pessimistic and following the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to follow our lives. Not only that, number 7, finally, if a person is in a position of authority, if he's the head of a household, if he's the head of a company, his pessimism could rub off on his employees and on his family. This person could be so accusatory of a person that whatever he's accusing a person of, if he constantly accuses this person of doing something wrong, eventually this person does something wrong because he feels like he needs to fulfill this prophecy that this person has of them. Due to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that we must always have a positive disposition and that we must not be people who pretend or make things out to be something that is not. When we think about this pessimism or the suspicion, we don't think about all the ill things that it could bring to us. And one of the reasons why we have these problems is because we begin to spy. When we're pessimistic of somebody, when we always think bad thoughts, now we have to figure out, are these bad thoughts that I'm having about these people, are they true? The only way that you can find out if they're true is to pry into the private lives of these individuals. And when you pry into the private lives of these individuals, what you begin to do is you allow your imagination to take control. Our Prophet said that the believers are supposed to be secure from another believer in 4 different ways. He should be secure in his life. He should have security in his property. He should have security in his honor and his dignity. And he should have security in his character and personality within the thoughts and minds of the other believers. Not just by what they say, but the other believer should not think bad things about the other believer. When people begin to pry and they don't understand the dangers that prying has on them, they begin to break the securities that the Muslims have on one another. When people spy on one another, the security that they're breaking is the security of a person's honor and their dignity. Once this honor and dignity is gone because of a lie, then it's very hard for that person to achieve the position that they were in before the lies were told against them, and people do not forgive them for that even though they did nothing wrong. We find that we can't expect a community to build if people in our communities are searching for bad things about people, because what ends up happening is, if you pry long enough, you will find somebody's secrets. How many of you want somebody to tell somebody about your secrets? Nobody. What if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taken the cover off of you and let all of your secrets out so everyone could see the bad things that you do? Would you be happy about that? No way. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, because of this, because you will feel bad if someone did this to you, for you not to do it to someone else. That's only fair. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, the furthest state that a person can be from the spiritual presence of Allah is when one befriends another person and he remembers whatever shortcomings and weakness that a person has that can dishonor him. Why does a person befriend you? Because they want to know your secrets. And if they know your secrets, if they tell your secrets, you can be no further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yet and still, if we know this as Muslims, why do so many Muslims tell the secrets of other Muslims? If someone is truly your friend, would you tell your friend their secrets? No way. The ill that a person feels when he begins to pry is that this person withdraws from society, because he's so suspicious of others when he's spying on other people that he thinks people are always spying on him. Now, the thing about spying is that it's addictive. If a person starts spying on one person, they begin to spy on other people. And when they begin to spy on other people, they begin to spy on next people. You know the worst thing for spying right now? The absolute worst thing for spying? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You kids have any of that? You know how you have friends on Facebook? The only time they go on Facebook is to find out what a person is saying, what this person is doing, what this person have. They don't really want to befriend them to befriend them, but they're telling people they find these people on Facebook for what? So that they could try to find little things about them, so that when they find out the secrets about them, they can go out and tell other people about it. You have some people who go to other people's houses and they see a person doing something that is makruh, frowned upon, a mubah, which is permissible, but not everybody likes it. These people might be doing things in the privacy of their own home, and they don't want the rest of the community to know. Like there's some people who smoke argila, or hookah. They don't want anyone else to know that they smoke the argila or the cigarettes. But if you go to the person's house and you see the person smoking and they ask you not to tell anyone, and you tell them, will this person be your friend anymore? No, because you destroyed the trust that he has in you. You were prying. You held this person's secret and you did not keep it. This is a grave sin. Not only that, but this spying on people, it affects the soul. When a person is not able to find what it is that he's looking for when he's spying on people, he begins to imagine things. I'll give you an example. I knew this person once. He said, this guy, he's a bad guy. You know why he's a bad guy? Because he likes to go and he likes to take people's money. He's never seen a person take any money from anyone, but he says to everyone, he steals. While he's looking and spying, he's spying on this guy to find out if he steals, he began to make things up. He says, I saw this guy at this store and someone left a tip on the table and he picked it up. And he gives the day that the person did it. The person wasn't even at the store. But if this person tells you that and you trust this person, aren't you going to believe that the person is a thief? Yeah, why not? Because you don't have a reason not to trust him yet. You don't know that he hadn't told the truth. Now this person, he began to keep telling stories about this person, and at the end of the day, people realized that, hey, I've never seen this person steal. I've never seen this person do anything bad. So why is it that this person keeps telling us things about it? The reason why the person keeps telling you things about it is because his soul is out of whack. What is the soul? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran, and they ask you concerning the soul. Say, O Muhammad, that it is a command from my Lord, and of it we know very little. We know very little about this soul of ours that we have. But we do know that the soul has 4 characteristics. And the way that you can break down the soul and these 4 characteristics is, remember, a term called RAID. R-A-I-D. There's going to be a question on this tomorrow, inshallah. R-A-I-D. The soul is made up of reason, anger, imagination, and desire. Reason, anger, imagination, and desire. We need each of these. But what happens when the wrong, one of these characters, is at the helm of the ship? It makes everything else go out of whack. What do I mean by that? You see, when a person begins to spy on someone and they have to make up things to see why this person is doing a certain thing, his imagination is running the ship. His desire is to find something that he can use against someone else. He becomes angry when he cannot deal with it, and he continues to lie on this person and makes the situation worse. And the worst thing about this whole situation is that the one that should be guiding the ship, which is reason, has been left out of the equation. How is this scenario supposed to go? Number one, if he's suspicious of a person, he should have gone to his brother and said, Ya akhi, you know, I thought that I saw you do something wrong. Did you actually do something wrong? How many of us are afraid to ask our friends if they did something wrong? You see, most of us, let me ask you young ones a question. You're taking a test. Your friend is cheating. How many of you at the end of the class will go and say to your friend, hey, look, you were cheating. Cheating is wrong. You shouldn't cheat. That's not enough people. And be honest about it. It's okay. Because most people, when they see something going wrong, they don't say anything about it. You know why? Because they're afraid. But our Prophet said that every Muslim is supposed to do Amr bil Ma'aruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. We're supposed to enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. Is cheating right or wrong? Now here's the thing. You don't have to go and tell your teacher, look, I saw this person cheating. But what you do have to do is you have to go to this individual and you have to say to this person, look, if you're caught cheating, you can get expelled from school. You can get a failing grade on your assignment. And you can get the person that you're cheating off of in trouble. Why? Because the teacher may think if they catch this person cheating off your paper, the teacher may think what? That you're allowing this person to cheat off your paper. What if you get that 0 and you didn't do anything wrong? We'll get it in the room, inshallah. MashaAllah. So again, what we have to do as Muslim brothers and sisters is we have to always allow our reasoning to take control of our imagination. We have to allow our reasoning to take control of our desires, and we have to allow our reasoning to take control of our anger. It's okay to be angry. When somebody does something wrong, you need the anger to be able to rise up in you so that you can speak out against it. You need imagination, because sometimes you find yourself in a problem that regular thinking will not solve that problem. You have to think what they say outside of the box to give you that solution. You need desires, because desires are the things that propels you forward. But it is the reason that allows you to go about dealing with things in a halal way. And the last thing, inshallah, that I want to talk about is that when it comes to dealing with individuals, I talked about pessimism, I talked about spying, but sometimes it comes a time when somebody is going to ask you about something that, people might think that you're a snitch. But snitching is not bad all the time. You can snitch on people sometimes. Sometimes it's actually obligatory for you, right? If somebody wants to go into business with someone, yes? And this person is not a good businessman, and you know that this person is not a good businessman or woman, and they ask you about whether this person is a good businessman or not, do you say, well, I don't know? Or do you tell this person, no, this person is a bad businessman? Which do you do? You don't know? Who would tell? Only one person? Astaghfirullah. Everybody should have your hand up. You know why you should have your hand up? Because when a person goes into business with someone else, this is like a marriage. Also, if somebody is getting married and somebody asks you what type of person this is, if you know that this person is a bad person, you have to tell the person, yes, this is a bad person. Why? Because when these people come together, everything they do is going to be directly affected by one another. If a person goes into business with someone who is a bad business person, they can destroy their financial future. They could destroy their character. They can make people not want to deal with them because by association, if you're in business with a bad person, people begin to think that you are also what? A bad person. Subhanallah. So the idea here is that in Islam, we're told, number one, not to be pessimistic. Being pessimistic, again, is always looking for the worst in people and in situations. We're told that we're not supposed to spy on other people. We also have to remember that the soul has 4 parts: reason, anger, imagination, and desire. Subhanallah. If we remember this, and we always want to do what's right, we'll also, when it comes down to telling people things, on yesterday and the day before, I told you that our prophet said, you are not a believer until what? Until you see it? No. You're not a believer until what? You want for who? Your brother? That you want for your brother, that in which you want for yourself. Do you want someone to spy on you? Do you want someone to lie on you? Do you want to go into business with bad people? So because you don't want any of this to happen, you have to make sure that you don't allow it to happen to anyone else. This is the beauty of Islam. It takes care of us. It helps us to know that if we want to have good to come on us, that we have to do good to others, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always in control and He sees everything that we do. Shukran Jazila, we close with the following dua. O Allah, make us of those people who are not pessimistic of others. Keep us away from spying on others. Allow us to stand up and be strong when we see what's wrong. Allow us to stand up and correct people when they're wrong if it's going to destroy their character and their honor. We pray all of this. Bihaqi Muhammadin wa alihi al-tar. We close out this session of the Majlis with the Surah Al-Fatiha. But before that, the loudest of salawats.